Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are just underway in the final men's game of the day, and just diving over the line is McMaster, and they're getting things started here. We had a little bit of a technical, we're just exporting some video here, and that's where we started about 30 seconds late. McMaster with a great start against the U of A, and they dove over the try line on the far right-hand side. So, Ryan, this is the final men's game of the day. We still have 4 women's games left, but these guys are probably pretty exhausted. It's been a long day so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And add that to the fact about an hour and a half ago, the rain started coming down. It would have made for a couple of tough warm-ups in these last 4 and 5 matches. Getting going after 3 games is tough enough. Add the cold and the wind and the rain, and makes for some pretty miserable conditions. Well done on the McMaster side.
Staying positive after 12 or so hours out in the cold and now in the rain is all in a day's work for an athlete. And McMaster, these two teams battling in Pool C, which is brought to you by Cougar. And great pace there on the outside. That's the U of A player. That was number 1, Duncan Morris. But I believe that ball was called back.
A bit unlucky there.
So we're going to have a red card. That's number 1 from McMaster, Mackenzie Chown. He's going off for a card, and it looks like
he's actually sent off number 4 from the U of A there, and I'm not sure he made the right choice. That might have been a retaliation on the initial dump tackle, which we might not have caught on the camera.
And McMaster diving over the try line. That's number 11, Evan Smith. So McMaster taking an early lead in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players on for McMaster, and 6 on. So this is a 6-on-6 game. Take that, 7's. We're going to 6. We want to make this field even bigger.
Not 6-minute abs. I think, sorry, Brian. I think that will give a bit more space to the likes of Mr. Gordon, Chris Gordon from this McMaster side, and probably the advantage to them with a little more space on the field.
So the rain's starting to come down now. As you can see, these players are starting to make a few more mistakes and drop balls and not being able to play the ball as clean. But the play will move on. These guys have done a great effort all day today, all 15 men's team and 10 women's teams. Just been a great day here at the Canadian Rugby Center of Excellence, and a penalty awarded to McMaster, who are already up 12-0 against the U of A, and they're bursting down the right-hand side. That's a great run on the far right, as looks like number 2 puts that down. Richard Ormrund, I believe, scored that try.
I'm going to have to correct you here, Brian. That was Andrew Ferguson, 7. It looks a bit like a 2 on the far side here. It's tough with the rain, I understand. But what we will see with McMaster, with this format, they're going to be trying to go for as many points as possible. Points differential is going to be key, as we've got 3 pools of 5. We've laid it out before. McMaster in this tough pool with U of A, UVic, Humber, and Regina are just looking to maximize their points differential.
So after this game, we will discuss how the points are, or we'll do it at halftime. We'll discuss how the points are going to affect tomorrow's games and the seedings. But right now, U of A is trying to get out of their own half, trying to get on this scoreboard. As like we mentioned, points are so big in this if they can touch down here against McMaster. I like the looks of this McMaster team. They could very well be my sleeper pick for tomorrow. You've got yours, I've got mine.
Well said. I've been chatting a lot about the Humber Hawks. I think they'll be on the lower half of the bracket, or I know they'll be on the lower half of the bracket, so I still like them there, but I do like your choice here with McMaster. They've got some talented players with a bit of pace. Might struggle against the likes of Western or UVic, but you never know in 7's rugby, right, Brian?
Saturday's a day of upsets. We all know that. So just let everyone know about what's happening with our men's and women's 7's teams coming up. Hong Kong, the biggest 7's event of the year, taking place March 22nd through 24th at, is it the Hong Kong Stadium? Is that what it's called?
Well, they've moved it since I played. I believe they've got a newer, fancier stadium that I do not know the name of.
Right downtown in Hong Kong. Beautiful facility there, 45,000 fans each day. The men will be competing. That's a stop on the HSBC World 7 Series, and then they follow that up the following weekend in Japan, which I believe is the 29th, 30th, or the 30th, 31st. So lots of action for them. And that same weekend that the men are in Japan, our women are playing on the third event of the Women's 7's World Series in Guangzhou, China, which should be a great event. And our women have been training very intensely for that. They haven't had their best results the first two events, but a very strong team coached by John Tate and Sandro Fiorino. So that's a couple big events coming up, and obviously the Rugby World Cup 7's taking place in June in Moscow. Did you happen to see the pools? What did you think, Ryan?
A little bit cliche. No easy pools left in 7-a-side rugby right now, but you know, Canada drawn alongside Georgia will be tough, obviously. And then it's NZ in the U.S., if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Well, the All Blacks, we've shown we can play with the likes of them this season. We haven't got the result yet, but the rugby that we're playing against their side is very positive. So, you know, I think we've got a great shot at it.
There's 24 teams in the men's division of the Rugby 7's World Cup this year. So the way they're doing it is 6 pools of 4. The top finisher from the first day's events from each pool, so the 6, plus the next best 2 teams will advance, and that's based on points for and against. So just like this tournament, you know, if you get a game against a third team, then you can run up the score. That's huge for your second day's seeding. And McMaster pouring it on here with on the final whistle of the first half, leading 19-0, and Ferguson just boots it back to his man. Ferguson once again, just with a chip kick over top, and he gets thrown down. No call by the official, and play moves on.
Ferguson was a bit unlucky there, Brian. I thought there should have been a call, especially now that UofA have the ball.
Spinning off on the outside is the big man, number 1. Now it looks like Duncan Morris, and he gets wrapped up on the outside. Good tackle there by McMaster.
Very strong direct runner, number 1, Duncan Morris. I think he's had a decent turnout for this UofA team.
Dancing close to the sideline here, and that ball looks like it was knocked on. So we're going to have halftime here. Just like what I was mentioning before, Ryan, let's talk a little bit about what's happening tomorrow. So we have 15 teams here, and they've each played 4 games. Let's talk us through a little bit about tomorrow.
Yeah, the top 8 will go into the cup and plate round, and the bottom 7 in this case will go into the bowl and shield round. And the way they've done it with the 3 pools of 5, you've got the top points will go through, but then you go to points differential if you've drawn. So it is extremely important in that aspect. And once you get into that cup bracket or bowl bracket, you've got to win your first game to advance to the next stages, which in this instance are a cup semifinal, a plate semifinal for the losers of the quarterfinal matches, and the same setup on the lower half of the bracket.
It sounds a little confusing when you're just not looking at it, and if you're not around it, but it is easy. And I will have a written article up on the website today before I leave that illustrates what's going to happen tomorrow, and really making sure that everyone is aware, and we'll have the schedule up and will be finalized so that everyone knows what's going on tomorrow. We'll have every single game tomorrow will be broadcast live from Westhills Stadium here in Langford, and should be another fun day here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've also you'll have a clear indication of who's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way down to 15th, which gives you a nice marker for the next year and the years following.
you can already see the improvements of some of these teams. Like the way I look at it was I did the commentary a couple years ago at UBC, and the first University Sevens team and UBC Okanagan was that was their first time really trying sevens, and now they've got some great players and they're making improvements, and I think this tournament is a big one. They're preparing for this all year and starting to groom their athletes for it, and sevens is growing, and I think this tournament does a lot for growing our national players. And you can tell, like, all of our high performance staff have been on hand today, scouting players and really keeping an eye on who's standing out here today.
Yeah, absolutely. You've seen the high profile example of Connor Trainer, but then you talk about the likes of Chisholm, who came out of that UBC Okanagan program and is now playing for what some would consider a bit of a stronger program in UVic, but that goes well for his development as an individual player. Yes, he leaves the Okanagan program, but for players of a caliber like that, you've got to make that next step, and unfortunately sometimes the program has to just ensure there's good depth below him to fill those spots, and I think programs like UBC Okanagan are doing a great job of that.
And it's nice seeing the teams like SFU and Royal Military College that just look so good here today, that now that they've had their first taste of this tournament, next year they'll be back and with greater numbers and just even that more polished. So this is a great event, and it kind of worries me about how much it's going to grow next year, because our broadcast will get that much bigger and there'll be more people here. But I say that as a joke because I thoroughly enjoy doing this. Yeah. And this is a great event, and the more people, the more the merrier. We've got two great fields, and we thank everyone for listening here today. It's been fun. Still lots. I talk like we're almost done. There's still lots more to go. Still 4 games left. As McMaster with a big burst of speed here. This is a great run by number 10. That's very fast. Chris Gordon, he's got some wheels for McMaster. He scored a few tallies today.
I've already given Mr. Gordon a nickname. It's Flash. I like the way he plays. He's extremely quick. I'm going to stick that one to him. Flash Gordon, great try. Under the sticks.
I don't know how you would have ever thought of that name. That's so genius of you.
I know.
You're so creative.
Yeah, well, you saw that in the way I played rugby. Very creative, eh?
Yeah.
Lots of imagination in the direct running style.
Just a reminder to all fans that Rugby Canada is having a full warehouse sale happening this entire weekend at the National Invitational University Sevens, and this Sunday from 10 to 5 at the Canadian Rugby Centre of Excellence. We're doing a full blowout sale and select merchandise up to 70% off. So lots of swag going on here, and what a great try there by the U of A, just booting it along in this wet conditions and try under the post. So it's always nice to see teams touch down when they're down by 26 points to get a tally just to get on the board.
Well, if U of A end up on the lower half of the bracket, this might stand them well if they get a decent points differential. So, you want a favorable matchup. If you finish 9th, you're going to end up playing the 15th place team in your first match. So it's really important on how U of A does here.
Once again, it's really nice how sevens tournaments do that. So on the second day, no matter where you are, you're playing for something, and you have the potential of going home with some hardware. McMaster trying to get something going here, trying to respond from that try by U of A. Good show and go by the McMaster player. Now that's the number 1, Mackenzie Chown. That ball hits the deck, and number 12 tries to pick it up, but blown down for a knock on. So we've got a couple minutes left here in the second half. 26-7, McMaster leading U of A.
Brian, you made mention of the big kit sale going on. I know a lot of the rugby players in my day that played the game solely for the kit. It's very important. It's nice to see that there's such good swag on the table here, and I think I might get a chance to run down there. I don't have the luxury of talking to a manager anymore, so.
And a lot of that is done by the fantastic work of Deanna Ahey, our worker from Rugby Canada, who's in charge of all that.
Absolutely tireless efforts there.
And now an opportunity on the outside. The big man, like we mentioned before, had a lot of gas, but had nobody with him and had to roll. Oh,
he's
no, he
yeah.
got the ball, and he looks like he's looks like he pulled a hamstring there. He is holding his right leg, And U of A trying to get something going. They're down to 6 guys, while number 5, Skylar Dietz, is lying on the ground. He looks like he's done for today. Or pardon me, it's number 1, Duncan Morris.
He was my pick of the tournament for U of A at the moment. It's unfortunate that he's gone down. If that's a hamstring injury, that's likely his tournament done now, which is really unfortunate.
He showed a great burst of speed here from about his own, 45 to about the 65, about, 20 meters there. He just had a great burst. He just didn't have anybody with him, and the defense closed in on him. But for a bigger guy, he's got a lot of pace on the outside.
Now you got to talk about playing 4 games in one day and managing your players and the ability to warm up well in that 4th game. Duncan is a very sturdily built player, so it would take a bit more to warm up an engine like that. It's a bit like a diesel, Brian. You've got to turn it over and turn it over to get it going. So might have had a factor to play in there.
U of A pouring on some pressure here as of late, which I always like to see. And a bit of a hole opening up, trying to go through it there. That was number 8, Ethan Borrell. And mismatch on the outside, and the advantage still being played to U of A, and they get the penalty just inside McMaster's 50. Oh, what a great stop and go there by the number 5. Play moves on. Number 10 tries to get around the McMaster defender. Just trying to get through a tackle there was the guy on the outside. Great play here by U of A. They're pouring on some pressure here. Even though they're down 26-7, they're not giving up and showing a great effort here. Good step there by number 14. He's so close, just about 1 meter out, but it looks like McMaster, nope, still kept by U of A. The big blind side right now, and somebody's smelling goal line, but I don't think he can get it up. And no, it's held up. So we'll have a scrum on the 5, and we're on the final whistle, so I'm not sure if the referee's going to give it to them, and it looks like he is. Ryan, how is it a good play to always smell the goal line, or is it sometimes better to be a little bit cautious and not get goal line fever?
No, you can't have goal line fever in an instance like that. There's only about a minute to play, or less than in this case. So you've got to have patience. You've got to have trust that your team can hold the ball for that short period of time and build pressure and go from there.
Well, and then there you have it. The ball gets booted about 40 yards out of bounds, making the ball boys go for a bit of a run there.
A quick technical note, I had an eye on the McMaster defense, and something that needs to be looked at for tomorrow. Number 12, Davor Stoyanov, was very aggressive, but he was coming out of the line. We talked about it early on, about line integrity. I think it's something McMaster want to look at real closely going into tomorrow.
It's a great